Hey everyone, it's Mace1370. Today we are going to do a Legend RTA Showcase for Researcher Carrot. Before we get into it though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please see the video description below for a link to my Discord. Okay, so in the last balance patch, Researcher Carrot got a significant buff. She has a really strong kit right now, a lot of things going for her. And I know a lot of people are drafting her in RTA, so I thought I would go over how I decided to build her, you know, the scenarios where you might use her, and show you an example game that exemplifies how well Researcher Carrot can do. So here's my Researcher Carrot. I have her on the self, imprint concentration or whatever it's called to give her more attack. And the way I built her was I wanted her around speed 105, and then I wanted her with about 4100 attack, and then the rest I wanted into HP and defense. I wanted as much tank as I could get with a speed of about 200 and an attack of about 4100. The reason why I chose these numbers, I chose the speed because I want to speed tune her so that my attack buffers go before her. So for example, General Purgus I have around 220, and Maid Chloe I have around 220. So Researcher Carrot will go behind them, and she will get the attack buff, and so she can use her S3 well. The 4100 attack number I came down on because I looked, at how other people were running theirs, saw how much damage they did, and to me this is about the minimum amount of attack you would want to run to do enough damage. And once you get enough damage, I felt I just want to survive at that point, and it wasn't worth dying more often to do a little bit more damage. Now, most of your gear pieces are going to have an empty substat slot if all you're getting is attack, defense, health, and speed. And the reason why, that's 4 stats, and a lot of items are not able to have these exact 4 subcombos. So for example, on a weapon, you can get health, speed, attack, but then you can't get defense. So you have to get something else. The helm can get everything. The chest is not able to get attack, for example. So you have to decide what you're going to do for that 4th substat slot. I chose to go with effectiveness for mine, and I feel like this is beneficial. Occasionally you're going to run into team comps where people run, a significant amount of FRES on their units, and so in late frenzy, this effectiveness that I have will allow me to start, putting burns on them or speed down from her S1. Another way that you could go would be to get crit chance instead of the effectiveness for, this particular little substat spot here. So for example, on this chest, you could get crit chance there instead of the effectiveness. On this neck piece, you could get crit chance here instead of the effectiveness. On this weapon, you could get crit chance here instead of effectiveness. The helm, you're going to get your 4 main ones. The ring, again, you would, you would get speed and then crit chance here. I'm debating about changing this one to speed. I don't really need to do it right now because if she goes any faster, I'm going to have to speed up my attack buffers, so might as well get a little bit of crit chance there, and it's fine otherwise. Besides, if I ever wanted to use this ring on somebody else, I would probably want to gem out the speed or the effectiveness for speed in that case, and use this more as a general bruiser ring. And then here we can get the 4 ones that we want: the health, defense, attack, and effectiveness. So that's kind of my reasoning for building her. The effectiveness is nice, as I said, for late frenzy. I also think that it is nice into teams that have units like Maid Chloe. She gives everybody 20 ER, and a lot of people are running her on Shamadra's staff, so then their whole team will have 40 ER. So it's nice to have some amount of effectiveness to kind of mitigate that. This chest has a bunch. I could probably drop it for more HP and defense, but the chest rolled really well, so I'm fine with it. In terms of her artifact choice, I've seen people do a variety of things. I think Book is really strong, and the reason why Book is strong is because you're able to soul burn her on her very first turn, and you can do a ton of damage to one unit out the gate. So her skill 3, AoEs everyone, puts 2 burns on them, and then you can soul burn for an extra turn so that you're able to use her skill 1 and detonate them. So one of the changes they made to Researcher Carrot in her buff is I think now she just always detonates. Before, I think it was a percentage chance, if I remember correctly, to detonate, and so it was not very consistent. But detonation does a ton of damage, and in addition to that, it ignores defense, or a proportion of defense, because I believe burns ignore like some percentage of defense. I don't remember exactly. I want to say it's like 60 or 70 or something like that percent. So you're able to really chunk people pretty hard with this combo here if you run Book. There are other options, of course, and this is an example of one of those heroes where, because burns just rely off attack and they penetrate defense, you can ignore crit damage, you can ignore crit chance, or if you want to put some into crit chance, that's fine, but you can basically cheat. Any unit where you're able to ignore certain stats, you can really like pump them up, and they have, I think, an ability to really shine. So that's why I chose Book, is for that kind of wombo combo right out the gate. But mages have access to like the most broken artifacts in the game. You honestly could run Crown on her. She S3s a bunch, stuns are great. I don't think it would be my first choice, but it's certainly an option. Let's see. I haven't really thought about this. Let's see, that's when it's not her turn, so that one wouldn't be good. I've seen people run Violin. I've seen people run Proof. I have seen people run Epic Scepter, which I think is on somebody else right now. Who has Epic Scepter? It's probably on a PvE hero or something. But Epic Scepter is the thing that has a percentage chance to lower the skill cooldown on your ability, so it lets you spam S3 more. Definitely a viable choice. So far, I've really liked Book. It gives her kind of a little bit of an extra role of a really strong single target nuker right out the gate, which can be really valuable. So that's how I built my Researcher Carrot. Like I said, I've seen some people go a bit of crit chance. I haven't really seen people go a ton of crit damage, but you might be able to pick up, a tad if you're getting some crit. But really focus on attack, defense, health, and speed. And then whether you go effectiveness or crit chances, I think probably personal preference and just based on how you run her and what, your general play style is. So let's go ahead and look at a game with Researcher Carrot. Okay, so I get first pick in this game. I pre-ban Basar. I still think Basar is really strong in this meta, despite the recent Maid Chloe buff, making him a little bit weaker. And I like first picking Fallen Cecilia, and you don't always have access to Maid, so I still think pre-banning Basar is a decent choice if you want to first pick Fallen Cecilia. Unfortunately, in this case, the opponent pre-banned Fallen Cecilia, so instead I take Blue Crow. I think he's another really strong knight in this meta, and he's an Aureus holder, so he's a very flexible first pick. Because they pre-banned FCC, I was kind of worried they were going to cleave, and I don't know if that was their plan or not, but that's kind of how I'm looking at their initial picks here, is I'm expecting them to do something aggressive, and Blue Crow is nice because he provides just a lot of mitigation and defense buff, so he's, I think, reasonable into a lot of team compositions, whether they're aggressive or bruiser or otherwise. So they take Tea Time Tenebria and Arbiter Vildred, so those are two very aggressive picks. So it still kind of looks like they're cleaving here. So I want to take counters to these units and leave myself open to take a couple damage dealers at the end, so that I'm able to basically tank out their cleave, which is generally my strategy. Blood Moon Haste is obviously great against RB. Unfortunately, Tea Time Tenebria does give unbuffable, so I need to take a cleanser here so that I can position myself to either go more mitigation or more anti-debuff, depending on how my opponent, flexes their draft. So I take Destina here. I chose Destina because she's a really tanky debuffer. So now they're taking LQC, and so I think, okay, they're doing some sort of like aggressive LQC bomb, but then they take Brozit, and I feel like now I'm a little off guard since I was expecting another aggressive attack buffer here, like Operator Sigrid or something, something like that. Something to give LQC attack buff, maybe a Sinji, people like doing that. Either way, taking Brozit here indicates that maybe they're not cleaving and they're just doing kind of a generic bruiser draft. So this took me off guard, and I really wasn't sure what to pick here. Looking at their draft, I think, okay, they're probably not taking another debuffer. And if they do, I can still ban the Tea Time, so I don't think I need to take any more anti-CC units. So I decide I can probably take Alencia, since she's going to strip off any buffs that they put onto LQC, like get rid of an attack buff, for example. And then I take Researcher Carrot, and I take her because she is, a tanky bruiser who can potentially one-shot LQC out the gate. It's something that I wanted to try. LQC can be really frustrating when you have either T-Crozet on your team or ML Haste, etc. So then they take Diane, and I think this was, a potential mispick. Taking Diane into Alencia is not the greatest. So I banned Tea Time because I'm pretty sure they're going to ban Destina, and they do. I figured they weren't going to ban ML Haste because they took the LQC and they want that dark target, you know, to nuke. And I'm okay with that. I can get defense buff up before they're able to do anything, since it doesn't look like their team is particularly fast.
I will guide you through the light.
So Diane does go first here. And if she uses her skill 3, I'm going to skill 3 with Alencia. If she doesn't, then I'm going to hold my skill 3, because I basically just want to deny attack buff to LQC, because I think that's how I could lose this draft, is LQC getting attack buff and then nuking my haste. So he decides to go ahead and put it up on LQC. So I reflexively go for S2, which is what I'm used to doing on Crown. Then I remember, oh no, I'm drafting Alencia, who I haven't used for quite some time, and she gives defense buff, so we can hold S2 on Crow. And this will really help increase the tankiness of my team, since I can effectively keep defense buff up for the majority of the game, you know, by cycling their 2 skills. So we failed to strip on RB, which is unfortunate. Was not expecting to get it on Crozet there or on Diane, because they probably have a good amount of ER. But we got it off of LQC, and that's really the one that mattered. So here I'm in a soul burn with Carrot, and we're just going to go for the kill because Blood Moon Haste is up next, and he can nuke on his skill 3 pretty well also. Unfortunately, I did crit, even though I didn't have crit chance, so that bumped the LQC up, which was kind of dangerous. If she goes before my haste goes, then that's going to be really bad for me, because then she'll heal up and I won't be able to kill her. I did get a dual attack there, which was nice. See that detonate damage? So that was 8k. And that was just with 1 burn. We got unlucky to only get 1 burn. If we had gotten 2, she would have been potentially just dead right there, but haste for sure finishes her off. So LQC is just off the board, and that's the advantage of Book. Because that was really his one threat to take me out this game. Now, he still does have Diane and, you know, an Arbiter Vildred, but this is clearly a degen RB. It's very slow. So we can literally just ignore him and go on the Brozet here. I don't want to go on Diane because Carrot is opposite element from her, and so she could, you know, potentially miss a bunch and give him an opportunity to really stabilize and just go deep into Frenzy and then start one-shotting my units with RB effectively. We have this obnoxious mischance on Alencia, so she double misses on the Brozet. Was not able to do much. And what's kind of funny, I had not drafted Alencia for so long. I actually checked after the match, and she's on an effectiveness ring, because I think I was using her for some PvE related, event or activity. So her gear is kind of scuffed right now. But despite it being scuffed, she actually has, I think, like 90 or so % effectiveness. And with Mind's Eye, I think she probably would have landed Defense Break there, but that missed debuff really screwed me.
This one seems a good match.
Here he goes into Haste. I'm honestly not sure why. Haste has Idol's Cheer, so that's just going to CR push me. I think he probably should have just gone on Alencia. Although I guess he was assuming that Misty Buff was going to do work, which it did. Okay, now we just hit with Carrot, and you see that detonate there for a nice 5k damage.
Insignificant.
We could have potentially gone on the RB as well, but he was so slow, I was concerned he was counter, and I just didn't want to give my opponent, an opportunity. I think it's safer here just to go into the Trozet. Also, if you go into the RB, you're going to be constantly CR pushing the Trozet, and that's no good because he'll cycle really quick and he can keep units stunned, and again, just give the opponent an opportunity to go deep into Frenzy and potentially, kill me that way. So we get a lucky resist here on Alencia, and she has Mind's Eye, which is kind of nice. The opponent puts up attack buff again with Diane, but I think our Alencia is coming back around to her skill 3. If not this turn, then probably next turn. Yeah, she has it. So I can just skill 3 here, and again, hopefully deny attack buff. But RB 15%'s me, which feels bad, since that was really the one that I wanted to, strip. And at first I was kind of wondering, I was like, oh, is that RB like ER? And then I looked at Valencia's gear afterwards and realized that she had a ton of effectiveness. So there's no way that RB has enough effect resistance, to resist that. Okay, Crozet gets the stun this time on Valencia. So, in terms of the comps that you can take Carrot into, I think that a comp like this, where you're not under a ton of pressure and you're going to be able to set up, her one-shot, I think is nice. I think you can also take her into Landies, potentially, and if you have enough damage to break the Landy out of stealth, then that Detonate can one-shot her for sure. I've already done that a couple games. I didn't play for a while, so I had to climb for a bit to get back up to a respectable rating. Yeah, so this is a counter RB. So you see the counter there, boom, and then there's the detonation. So quite a bit of damage for the win. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.